Ireland. Back-to-back champs, but they've got a tough opening fixture against the only team to beat them in the previous two tournaments. Hello, amateurs, and welcome back to our Six Nations series. I'm going to be here with you with a ton of amazing guests throughout the series and beyond. So hit subscribe down below to make sure you don't miss out on any future episodes. Now, today, I am going to be looking at what I think the Ireland team will be to face England this coming Saturday in what is going to be an epic opening game for both of these sides. We had a big, deep dive with Patrick O'Grady, former London Irish Academy manager. He knows a lot about the game, all about the Irish team, and I'll link it up there. Some interesting things about the squad, the dynamics around the coaching changes and stuff like that. There's lots of good information in there. So go and give that one a watch. In terms of squad updates for Ireland, the big, huge news is that Ty Furlong is out injured with some kind of calf problem. It's not known how long he's going to be out at the moment, but he's certainly missing this week's fixture against England, which is a huge loss for the Irish. But in that video, which I linked up there, there was lots of comments coming out about a new young tight head from Leinster who might well be the long-term successor to Mr. Furlong. So watch out for him coming through. Okay, let's get into this and have a look at the team that I think will be picked to face England. And there's some really tricky decisions actually in here. I struggled with quite a lot of this, but these are my forwards that I think we'll go with. Porter at loosehead, I think, is an obvious choice, although Leinster have been employing him from the bench, but bringing him on after about half an hour. So bringing him on in the first half and then play through to the end. Maybe Ireland will do the same. I'm going to say they're going to go traditional and start him and keep him on for as long as possible, I'd imagine. Kelleher in at hooker and has been playing really well. Dan Sheehan just back from injury, played for Leinster at the weekend, but not ready to start a test match yet, in my opinion. So Kelleher will continue there alongside Bealham, who's in for Furlong. But Bealham and Kelleher produced the moment of my international rugby calendar last year. And I've made a little bit of content about it, which, again, I'll link up there. I'll link it up there. And it kind of went viral. So I've got a lot of them, I've got a lot of thanks for them for doing that. But it was just a beautiful bit of play in that South Africa game, the first South Africa test last summer. So thank you, guys. Into the second row and the back five I'll talk about generally here because there's a lot of good players and there's a lot of different ways that Ireland could go with this. But I think, particularly to start this game, particularly with the likelihood of some inclement weather, they're going to go big. So that means McCarthy, that means Ryan, that means Byrne at blindside flanker. I think Van der Fleer and Doris at shoo-ins at 7 and 8, no matter what you do. It's just the combinations around them. Cormac is a Chukwu, someone who's impressed me a lot recently. He's just looks like he's so big. He looks like he's playing a different game sometimes. You know, that big kid at school, he looks a bit like that when he plays. And then, of course, you've got the absolutely rapid X factor, Ryan Baird. You've got Peter O'Mahony, who could still, particularly in a game like this, I think, have a lot of value. And Jack Conan, a starting lines number 8. So they've got so many great options in the back five of the scrum. But I think this is what Ireland will go with. Into the backs, but I'm going to hold the surprise here because the big decision is around fly half. I mean, there's other decisions to be made as well, for sure, but Jack Crowley versus Sam Prendergast. Prendergast has been given the shirt towards the end of the autumn and done well. He's played very well for Leinster since as well, but Jack Crowley did very well last year as well once he got possession of the shirt. And I was really impressed with him against for Munster at Northampton recently. So I think I'm going to go with Crowley. I think he's just extra experience. He's just extra time in the shirt. He's got a calmness about him, which I really like. And he's got an all-round game. And I think for this game, at the start of this tournament, I think he's the man to lead that Ireland back line. Obviously, Gibson Park there at 9 is another absolute shoo-in this team. The centres, I mean, I think this is very widely accepted that you could pick any 2 out of 3 and Ireland will be very, very strong. Robbie Henshaw is the one that's just missing out for me this week. But he's playing amazing rugby and it's a really tough call. But when you've got that many good players, somebody's got to miss out. Some really good players have got to miss out. The wingers, and although Hansen hasn't played for a few weeks for suspension and Lowe has been injured, I just think they are so important to the way Ireland play. Lowe with his kicking in particular and Hansen with his footballing ability on the wing. I think they just enable so much about this Ireland team. So although there's some other really good players, Calvin Nash has been on fine form recently, for example, I think you go with Lowe and Hansen. And again, another shoe-in for Ireland is Keenan at fullback, one of the very best in the world. So that is the backs done, and it was difficult, but even harder than that for me was actually picking the bench. Sheehan, Healy and Tom Clarkson, I think, are fairly obvious choices. But then do you go 6-2? Do you go 5-3? And I think with just some of the sort of the fact that Lowe's only just back, for example, I think they need more cover in the backs maybe than the forwards. So I've gone 5-3 with Ryan Baird and Jack Conan being the guys to take the shirts. I think you just want to have Baird around. If you need some bit of magic in the last bit of the game, he's the man who's going to do that for you. And Jack Conan is just such an incredibly consistent, hard physical presence that he earns that shirt as well. Murray, I think, still keeps the shirt as a replacement scrum half. His tactical kicking towards the end of the game could be very important. And then this is where it's really difficult for me. Prendergast, who I mentioned earlier, was very unlucky for my selection not to get the starting shirt. You've got Calvin Nash, who's been playing really well on the wing. You've got someone like Jamie Osborne and Jimmy O'Brien, who've both been playing well. But I've gone with Henshaw. He's the player that might come on and make the biggest difference. And, of course, Ringrose can move out to the wing if that happens and one of the wingers have to come off. And then I've gone with Crowley, who's done brilliantly off the bench for Ireland previously. And I just rate his versatility as a bench player. He's the type of player that really makes a 6-2 possible, I think. But I feel like Ireland might need more of that cover in the backs than the forwards for this week at least. Okay, that was tough. That has been my hardest selection video that I've done so far for this Six Nations. We'll see. I mean, I've no idea really, obviously. It's a new coach, so there might be some slightly different angles in terms of the selection that we haven't seen under Faz, that we will see under Easterby. It's going to be really interesting to find out. But what do I expect to see from this Ireland team? I think they were a little bit glitchy during the autumn. It looked like they were maybe trying to do some new things and it wasn't quite coming off for them. So first and foremost, and I think you get this with Ireland no matter what happens, but I think first and foremost, they really want to focus on the ferocity of how they play the game. There's something about these England-Ireland games that really seems to bring that out, I think, in all the players. Competing at everything, hard and physical, gnarly, nasty, the type of things that you really, really associate with this Ireland team. And then something Paddy brought up in the video that we did about the Ireland squad is potentially a little bit more kick to compete. With the shielding laws changing now, so the people that are running onto the ball to challenge really have the upper hand. So if you can get some really good, accurate kicking, and Paddy, a scrum half coach, really rates Jamison Gibson-Park's kicking, then there's plenty of people in this Ireland team that can go and win balls in the air, especially Hugo Keenan. So maybe we'll see that as well, a slight, increase in the amount of times they kick to compete as opposed to playing a possession game, which is what we've seen for the last 2, 3, maybe 4 years. All right, that's what I think. And we'll be doing a proper match preview video later in the week when we'll discuss England and Ireland at the same time. So I'll give my predictions about how I think the game's going to go then. But what do you think? Do you think I'll pick the right team? Do you think this is the team that Easterby will pick? If not, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll join you there for a friendly conversation. Most of all, though, do you think this team will beat England? Let me know about that. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there if you don't mind. It helps other people find it, and you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And do not forget to get out and play.